Welcome to the podcast of CreateConnectConvert.co, a community of empowered businesswomen by empowered businesswomen. Let's dig in.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Create, Connect, Convert podcast. We are a community of empowered women for empowered women, and we provide these episodes to you to share our experiences and our passions for entrepreneurship. Did I pronounce that right? Okay. Entrepreneurship. And share with you our experiences in different subjects: marketing, branding, AI, organization. But today we are talking, going down the road of marketing, and we're talking about turning one piece of content into multiple pieces of content. Before we dive into that, my name is Regina Garay, and I am going to let my co-hosts introduce themselves first, and then I'll top it off, and then we'll get right into talking all about marketing content. Laura, would you like to kick us off?
Thank you so much. I love your introduction today. Oh, so much energy. So I'm Laura Templeton with 30 Second Success. Many of you know me as the brand message consultant, and I love helping people dive into all things branding. I love talking about communications, supporting purpose-driven entrepreneurs and business leaders in the direction that they want to go in, with the people they want to connect with, and doing it with heart and purpose. I'm Laura Templeton with 30 Second Success.
Hello, everyone. I am Kristy Crippen. I'm the founder of Collaborative Partners, and I am your intuitive thought partner and business process architect. I love working with hardworking entrepreneurs that their day can sing, they're productive, sitting at a clean desk and having complete clarity throughout their day, week, and beyond. You can learn more about me at collaborativepartnersadmin.com.
I love both your interests. Okay. I'm Regina Garay. The name of my company is Right Brain Loves Left. I love marrying creative and analytical pursuits to make your business better. You can find me at rightbrainlovesleft.com. I am a marketing manager, but I also teach. So I either teach you how to manage your marketing, or I help you manage your marketing for you. You can find me at rightbrainlovesleft.com. All right. So I love this topic about turning one piece of content into many, because I feel that some small business owners put something out there once, and then if it doesn't do well, or if it doesn't get any traction or anything, they just let it go. And, with the algorithms being the way they are, sometimes you need several times to have that piece of content hit your target audience. Not only that, but you can also repurpose it in different ways on other platforms. So we're going to talk about that today. For those of you on YouTube, I am going to be looking at my set of questions over here. If you're listening to us on the podcast, you're seamlessly hearing me asking questions off the top of my head. So the first question I'm going to share with both of you is, what is the biggest mistake that people can make when they create content one piece at a time? Anybody want to jump in?
Oh, I will jump in. You know that I will. Well, I love that. I mean, great question. And it is one thing that I feel that sometimes people feel like if their content isn't getting any traction on one platform, it's not going to get any traction elsewhere. Sometimes we have to do some A/B testing around our content. Is it the title that doesn't make sense? Is it the image that doesn't work with the content? How are we presenting it to our audience? But most importantly, when we're creating content, sometimes we have to remember that we're not writing it for ourselves. We are writing it for our audience. So we need to really think about what we're putting out into the world. Does it make sense to the people that we're trying to attract, right? And that's one of the biggest pieces, that when it comes to content creation, am I writing this for me? Am I writing this for my audience, right? How is it going to speak to the people that are out there? And I think that's one of the most valuable, that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see: people writing stuff that just is like, so what is this supposed to mean to me? Right.
Exactly.
And I think that's where I look at it, where there's a disconnect. Like, so what is the meaning of this? Why are they sharing this? And does it connect with their brand and the people that they're trying to attract to their brand?
You bring up a great point because there's a difference between analysis and judgment when it comes to our content. When we share a piece of content, a lot of it is, and it doesn't go well or crickets, no engagement. Um, we tend to self-judge. Oh, this class is not hitting. Oh, nobody likes what I'm offering. Oh, I'm just suck at doing marketing. It's a lot of self-judgment when really it should be more about analysis. Okay, like you said, maybe that title's wrong. Maybe the copy just isn't you're not hitting the pain point of the person you're trying to reach. So it's better to kind of analyze it, taking you out of the equation and looking at that and saying, how can I make this piece of content better? Kristy, what do you think about that?
I love that. When we immerse ourselves too much in what we're doing, it gets to a point where we get tangled up in it and then we lose that sense of objectivity. So then you bring somebody else in to who can look at it in a very objective way. And then now we're looking at it through this different lens. It's like our lens gets fogged up and now this person comes in with their wisdom and their brilliance. And now all of a sudden you look at it in a different way. And it gives you so much more perspective.
I agree. I agree. Okay, second question. Can you give me an example of how a single idea can be repurposed into different types of content? You know what? I want to start off with this. I'm gonna answer my own question on this one. Okay. So I have a weekly newsletter, and this is where everything starts for me, because I write for the newsletter. Then I repurpose that into social media content for Instagram. I put it up on Pinterest. If it's a discussion that I can have something deep with, I might consider putting it as a YouTube video. It goes as a blog post on my blog. I have a marketing membership that if it's another deep one, I drill it down for that membership. Yeah, and then, I can put it on, I can talk about it during a podcast or anything of that nature. So, and within that content, um, let's say social platforms, I create maybe two or three versions of that to share at different points in time. So I can share it maybe on a Monday and then maybe 2 weeks later. If it's an evergreen content, share it on a Wednesday. So I have that ready to go so that I'm mentioning it several times and it's not just one and done. But so for me, finding that one piece where everything starts, it's my newsletter. And then it just kind of goes around from there. What about the two of you?
Mine's reversed. So I
Oh,
start with a
excellent.
blog. Yeah. I always start with a blog. Like I love going deep into writing a blog and really getting in, being intentional around the blog. And then from there, I point everything else to it, right? I'll use it to create an article in LinkedIn. I'll use it for social media content. I'll use it for my newsletter. Everything points back to the blog.
Mhm.
I'm being purposeful in using it in that way because I want to drive people to my website. And I think
Yes,
that's a
key.
big, powerful piece, knowing where you want to drive people with your content, right? So a lot of times, and I will take it into ChatGPT and break it down from there. Like, okay, give me several ideas. Can I repurpose this? When can I reuse this? The other thing I like to do is even within, if I create an article on LinkedIn, then what I will do maybe a week or two later is I will actually write a social media post pointing back to that article, and the
Yes.
article actually points back to the blog. So it's like I look at it from where is everything connecting, right? And that's what I love to do in the framework that I use. That works well for me.
Mhm.
The other thing I like to think about is in my writing, because I'm an author and I've written several books. What content can I pull from my books to use in the
Brilliant.
same manner?
Hmm.
Right? What is it? Where am I pulling from? And letting people know when I'm pulling it from my book. Hey, you'll find more expanded information about this particular topic in my book, Stand in Your Brand, or in my book, 30 Second Success, or whichever one I'm excited about sharing something from that day. So when you have a book or you have a course or you have a workshop, that content that you're sharing in those particular becomes snippets of content that you can create elsewhere, and remember that you can point people to where it came from.
I love that. And by the way, I was taking a look at your book, 30 Second Success, this weekend because I'm putting it on my to read list. I've read it before, but you have so much good things in there, and I'm getting back into networking in person, and I'm like, let me refresh my entire
Mm.
elevator pitch, so to speak, my 30-second message. So just funny that you brought that up because it's such a good book. Okay, Kristy, what about you? How do you repurpose everything for you?
I think for me, it's about looking at what content have I created in the past. And because, there's that whole piece of content that I've created. And then what are the nuggets that I can mine from that? Um, I look at it kind of like a big gold nugget. And then how can I break that down? Like maybe I could make a few bracelets out of it, or, maybe 8 pairs of earrings. You know what I mean? I think that so often, um, what we had said before about how creators, they put one piece of content out and it's like, all right, box ticked, on to the next, and it's in a silo. But really, what are the beautiful things that you can do with it? How can you go granular with it and really examine it? And I would say that if you were someone who feels challenged by that, work with somebody like yourself, Regina, who can go from the big 10,000 foot aerial view down
Mhm.
into the cornfields and go into and like, okay, here are all the little individual corn kernels. What can we make from those? So I think it's how do you go from the big to the small? And what does that process look like for you?
I love that. And yes, I do love looking for the corn kernels. Let's create your digital content library. Okay, so how can business owners keep their content refreshed and not always think, I'm just repurposing this, I'm just repurposing this. But how do you keep it refreshed and feeling brand new, not only for yourself, but for others?
I think that, and speaking from personal experience, this year has been such a pivotal year for me and for a lot of business owners I know, where they are really pivoting in their business. They're really examining, who have I grown into as a business owner? How has my business evolved? So I think part and parcel of that is that you have to look at your content. What is the content you've produced in the past? Would you say that the same way now? Would you express yourself in the same way? Um, are there, maybe you're bigger and bolder than you were before. Maybe you wrote from, maybe you were, speaking personally, I was wrote from this very timid energy, right?
Mm.
And this really laying it out here. Oh, and it's so, isn't it interesting how we can show up so full of vigor for our clients and our customers, and yet sometimes for ourselves, we we show up, we, we can let fear drive the bus, and then that
We
causes,
hesitate.
right, we hesitate. It can cause us to operate from a more diminished, like we're not shining our light fully. So if you have done that expansion and all that exploration, and that's led to that expansion, and you look at your content and go, oh, well, now I would say it this way. So how can you take this existing piece of content and massage it through the lens of who you are now, who you've grown into, and how your business has evolved?
It's so funny because I love that because I used to write long pieces of content, let's say for Instagram, because I have to say I am a wordy girl, so it's like concise is just not my style. But, then, they were like, oh, shorter copy is better. So I then developed shorter copy, and it felt so weird because I was like, but I could say this and I could say that, so it really wasn't me. So even though it was better speaking, in terms of for the algorithms and everything, it wasn't better for me. And so
Mm.
I figured out a way to make it smaller. So just you know refreshing that copy and seeing who you are and making sure that it's comfortable because I figured I'm in a medium length. That's who I am. The people who love what I have to say will find me and will find that acceptable. So yes, refreshing copy, seeing who you are, what you're feeling, I think is a great way to add that fresh spin on repurposed content. Laura,
I
did
think
you?
too, like a lot of times, like we'll talk about, repurposing a blog. Now, I've gone back and I've looked in my blog history. I've got stuff going back many years, and I'm like, yeah, this does it really, number one, is it still in alignment with what I'm teaching today? If it is, how can I repurpose it? Is it something that does it need to be refreshed? Does it need to be updated? If so, let's play with it. Give it a new title. It's a great way if you're like stuck on something to write back into your blog history or something you've written a while ago. Articles that I actually wrote that never got published for one reason or another, whether it was for, a book submission or an article for a newsletter. I took those articles and I repurposed them and made them new blog content. So sometimes I think, it's the repurposing and feeling fresh is what are people listening for now, right?
Mhm,
Is this alignment with what I'm hearing in the marketplace? Like, really think about what people are listening for. Again, it's tying into what your ideal clients need to hear. And I think
mhm,
that when we think about repurposing content, it's not just for ourselves. It's to help our audience understand that we know what they're feeling.
mhm.
We get it and we have something to offer them that might help them move forward. And I think that's the value of bringing really good content out into the world. It's about sharing our stories, and a lot of people love the whole storytelling. But what does that story have to do with me?
Mhm.
And that's what our audience is asking. And if you can tell them what that story has to do with them, there's been times where I've taken a blog and I've repurposed it from years ago, and I'll say, hey guys, this was an old blog that I wrote a really long time ago, and it still stands today.
Mm.
The easy way to repurpose it, right? It's a
Mhm.
blog that hasn't changed. And I'll just write, here's a blog that I wrote a long time ago, and it still stands today. It's simple as that. It's just pointing back to an old blog. So there's a lot of ways to look at your content that you have that still feels fresh when we're staying in alignment with who we're trying to reach. And I think that's a big piece of it. Is it still speaking with who we're trying to reach? And cleaning out your old blog history, there's nothing wrong with that either. Like if there's blogs in there that just like don't make any sense to who you are now, because we transform with our businesses. Our businesses transform, we transform with our businesses. And our content needs to transform with us. It can't
Yes.
stay old and stale, right? Old and stale does not serve.
Okay, so we've got one, make sure in refreshing content, make sure that it's actually speaking to who we are today, that we actually enjoy saying these things. Number two, that what we're saying connects with our audience. And, it's speaking to them as to their pain points, as to what they're looking for, and telling, and maybe they have a problem they didn't know they had, and then they recognize it. They're like, yes, I do have that. I do need help with that. Sometimes we vocalize what they have been thinking about subconsciously. And I think the third thing here is also because I work in the interior design and construction industry, and I run into this all the time is images. So if you shared that piece of content with one image, like for instance, my audience, they have so many beautiful projects and they share one image, and they could maybe repurpose that and share a close-up detail and talk about how, as Charles Eames said, details make the design. And focus on those close-up details. Look how we leave everything just so. Or you can take an aerial view, and this is the beautiful design work that the designer did. So you can take a piece of content and, as Kristy said earlier, take it into nuggets and even break it down further and just focus on this aspect of it, and go that. So you can share different images. Going back to what I was saying, you can share different images. So it doesn't always have to be the same image. If you used a graphic before, you can switch the colors within your brand scheme and have it refreshed. So there's that third component in there.
Could I add one more thing?
Yeah,
May I?
yeah.
Thank you. Laura so often we hear all the time how Laura so brilliantly speaks about branding. And is what you're putting out, does it tie into your branding? Is it congruent? And and then she shared earlier, does this piece of content feel stale? Right?
Mhm.
Because you work so hard to become the business owner you are. It's a lot of growth. Sometimes it feels messy and yucky and oh, I don't want to go through this. But yet, if you hang in there and you get through it and you get on the other side of it, and then it's this awakening, this really incredible, beautiful awakening. And there's like epiphanies, and then it feels like all these beautiful things come flooding in, like, oh, this is really who I've become. And it's that feeling of alignment, right? It's alignment within ourselves. It's alignment within our business. And I know for me that I wouldn't want to have a piece of content that no longer speaks like that's the old me. I am no
Mhm.
longer energetically that person. I have evolved out of that person. So like to Laura's point, like how it could be confusing for somebody coming to your website and like, well, but I thought that she did this, but I'm seeing this content here. And now I'm confused. But for yourself, I think it confuses you. It's like if you hired a personal stylist, if you said, you know what, this is not these clothes that I wore for years or maybe even decades. This is not who I am anymore. Can you help me figure out, like, here's my new identity and I don't know how to dress for it. And then they help you dress for it. But if you keep all the old clothes in the closet, what's that going to do to your mentality, but also your spirit every time you open that closet door? It's going to lead to confusion and misalignment. So really taking that inventory of your content, it helps clean out the cobwebs, you
When
know?
you're repurposing it, when you're looking at repurposing content.
Yeah, it's I think it's really a chance to just tighten things up and like are there any loose bolts, and but it's also it's that gut check.
So you're
Yeah.
talking about going back into your other older content and looking at it with a repurpose eye, and if it's not good for repurposing, then you just archive it in a way or another.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of similar to what Laura was t had talked about before, but all of a sudden as I was listening to Laura share, I thought about the energetic perspective because
Mm.
it when you see football players on the practice field and they've got a trainer behind them and they've got a big stretch band or something around their waist and the players trying to run down the field, and yes, that serves a purpose for the game because obviously they'll be faster, but to me that's how it feels if you've got things that are hanging out that are the old persona, the old you. It feels like this thing wrapped around your waist, and yeah, you can still move forward, but it feels laborious, and who wants that?
I like it.
I
I
love it.
like it.
I love it.
Thank you. Okay, so my gosh, I think we went off. Okay, I'm gonna try to recap everything for us. So the biggest mistake, going back to the first question, that a small business owner can make is to self-judge rather than analyze your content and why it wasn't hitting the way it did. It might have even just been shared at the wrong time, and that's it, and it's perfect in every other way. The second was to look at what other platforms um, and what other ideas you can use to repurpose that content. So taking, like, for instance, Laura, taking that blog post and going social media, article, podcast, and just there's spokes within that center wheel of what you do with that blog post. And then the third thing was to, what was my, how keeping it refreshed? Oh my goodness, I can't believe I just forgot what we just talked. Okay. Keeping it refreshed by number one, taking a look at the copy, making sure it reflects you and making sure it reflects what your audience needs. And also taking a look at those images and make sure that if you are hesitant about sharing that same image again, then just change it up. Look at it from a different angle, do a close up or do a completely different graphic within your branding altogether. And the third is to while you're taking a look at older content, to repurpose. At that moment, take time to look at it energetically and think, this doesn't serve me anymore, and archive it, and then take that does serve you and your audience and repurpose that, so that you're not always thinking of new ideas all the time. You're looking at what you've already written and what you've already generated. All right. Before I wrap it up, does anybody want to say anything else or add anything to this? Yes.
I love that you did a recap. One of the things I would love, I failed to mention, or we don't talk about, and maybe this was a great time to say this, but one of the best ways to look at get a fresh eye on your content is take it into AI, right? Take an old blog into AI and ask it to, how can I repurpose this? Does this still speak to who I am? What do you recommend? How would I update this or refresh this so it sounds more like who I am now and what the content that I'm putting out there? Play with it in AI and you'll be really surprised, and actually ask it for all the different ways that you could repurpose it, and it'll give you some really cool ideas.
I love that. And I, use AI a lot, and I use it in that way as well. And frankly, sometimes I'm surprised, at some of the things it says. Some of the things are not what I would do, but others I'm like, I never thought about that. And it's a good way to, again, not constantly think of new ideas, but using the tools at our disposal to repurpose that content, to do something with what we've already written that's so good and so helpful to our audience. I love that. Yes, thank you for sharing that. We almost missed AI in this one, Laura.
I know, right? I think I kind of mentioned it before, but not a lot.
But it's good. It was a good suggestion. Okay. So everyone, thank you very much for joining us for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to us or comment, and we'll be more than happy to reach back out to you. Laura, do you want to close us out?
Sure. Just remember, always be creating, always be connecting, and never stop converting your dreams into reality.
Bye, everyone.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of CreateConnectConvert.co. We hope you're feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to make your next bold move. Remember, the journey doesn't end here. Head over to CreateConnectConvert.co to download our latest resources, sign up for our upcoming events, or hop on the wait list for our exclusive mastermind community. There's a seat at the table waiting just for you. Thank you for tuning in, and be sure to click like and subscribe. We'll see you back here next week to dive into another game-changing conversation. And here's a little something to carry you until then. Keep creating, keep connecting, and never stop converting your dreams into reality.